Deep in an unexplored section of the jungle where even insects fall silent, Linda spots a mysterious black bird through her binoculars. Despite her guide's warnings about this forbidden area, her scientific curiosity draws her closer each day. On her final visit, alone in the misty vegetation, she steps forward for a closer look. As she reaches out her hand, the air suddenly grows cold. What Linda discovers in that moment will change everything you thought you knew about jungle mysteries. It started as a routine expedition. Linda Martinez had spent the last 15 years documenting endangered species across remote regions. Her work had taken her to the depths of rainforests and the peaks of mountains, but nothing could have prepared her for what she would discover in this secluded corner of the jungle. This was one of the least explored regions she'd ever visited, with vast stretches of dense vegetation that remained untouched by modern civilization. Perfect conditions for undiscovered species to thrive. Linda knew she couldn't tackle this expedition alone. She needed someone who understood the jungle's rhythms, its hidden paths, and most importantly, its dangers. That's how she met Raj, a local guide whose knowledge of the area was unmatched. His weathered face and careful movements spoke of decades spent navigating these treacherous terrains. Their first days were productive but uneventful. They documented several known species and collected data about their habitats. Each morning they would set out before dawn, when the jungle was most alive with activity. They tracked rare butterflies, photographed elusive reptiles, and recorded the calls of countless birds. Linda's research journal filled with promising observations. But everything changed when Linda suggested exploring the eastern path. Raj's usual calm demeanor shifted. His shoulders tensed and his eyes darted nervously toward the dense foliage. He advised against it, his voice carrying an edge she hadn't heard before. The locals, he explained, avoided that area. He wouldn't say why. His reluctance only fueled Linda's curiosity. After all, areas that people avoided often harbored the most interesting discoveries. She convinced Raj to take her near the restricted zone, promising they would maintain a safe distance. He agreed, though his usual confident stride became hesitant as they approached. Through her binoculars, Linda scanned the canopy. At first, nothing seemed out of ordinary. Then she saw it. Perched on a distant branch was a bird unlike any she'd encountered in her years of research. Its feathers were an impossibly deep black, seeming to absorb the jungle's filtered light rather than reflect it. Linda's scientific mind raced with possibilities. Could this be an undiscovered species? The implications would be enormous. The jungle held many secrets, but new bird species were increasingly rare finds. She needed better documentation. That night, back at the research station, Linda pored over her reference books. Nothing matched the bird's distinctive features. She sent emails to colleagues describing her observations in detail. Their responses only confirmed her suspicion. This could be something entirely new. Despite Raj's growing discomfort, Linda returned to observe the bird several times over the next week. Each visit, she tried to get a little closer, pushing the boundaries of their agreed-upon safe distance. With each approach, she noticed something unsettling. The usual cacophony of jungle life, the constant chatter of monkeys, the buzz of insects, the rustle of small animals, fell silent in this area. It was as if nature itself was holding its breath. The absence of other wildlife was puzzling. Linda's scientific training told her something wasn't right, but her curiosity wouldn't let her walk away. She needed answers. During one observation session, a sudden movement caught her eye. Something large had disturbed the canopy several hundred meters away, but when she turned her binoculars in that direction, she saw only swaying branches. No animals, no wind, just movement without a visible cause. That evening, Raj shared stories he'd heard about the eastern section, tales of people who ventured too close and never returned, of strange sounds that couldn't be explained, of shadows that moved against the light. Linda listened politely but remained skeptical. Every jungle had its local legends. Then came the day Raj couldn't accompany her. He had urgent business in his village, a family matter that couldn't wait. Linda assured him she would stick to their usual observation spot, but as she stood there alone, watching the mysterious bird through her binoculars, the temptation proved too strong. This was her chance for a closer look. The jungle seemed different without Raj's presence, the shadows deeper, the silence more oppressive. Each step through the undergrowth felt like a transgression, but Linda pressed on. As she got closer, details began emerging that her binoculars hadn't revealed. The bird hadn't moved, not once. not even the slight adjustments most birds make to maintain their balance. It was completely, unnaturally still. Linda's heart began to race as she closed the final distance. Her hand reached out, trembling slightly. The truth hit her like a physical blow. The bird was made of wood, an intricately carved decoy, positioned with scientific precision among the branches. Before she could process this revelation, the air around her changed. The jungle's humid warmth gave way to an unnatural chill. Through the rising mist, something emerged between the trees. Something tall, something white, something that moved in ways nothing natural should move. The figure glided toward her, its flowing white form seeming to float above the ground. Linda's scientific mind struggled to process what she was seeing, but her survival instinct kicked in. She ran. Years of fieldwork had taught her how to move through difficult terrain. Those skills saved her life as she crashed through the vegetation, her heart pounding in her ears. The white figure pursued her silently, impossibly fast despite its unnatural movement. Branches whipped at her face as she ran. Linda didn't stop running until she reached the village. Her hands shook as she showed the local police the photos she'd managed to take. The wooden bird in perfect detail, and a blurry shot of the white figure among the trees. The police chief recognized something in the photos that changed everything. Within hours, a special task force was assembled. The investigation that followed uncovered a truth far stranger than any supernatural explanation. The wooden bird wasn't just a decoy, it was part of an elaborate surveillance system. Drug traffickers had been using the area for their operations, and they'd found an ingenious way to keep people away. The ghostly figure was their masterpiece of deception. They used stilts and flowing white clothes to create an otherworldly appearance, exploiting local superstitions about jungle spirits. The mist, which appeared so mysteriously during Linda's encounter, came from hidden smoke machines triggered by motion sensors. The operation was sophisticated. Cameras hidden in trees tracked movement throughout their territory. The wooden bird itself contained high-tech monitoring equipment, its carved eyes concealing lenses that recorded everything below. Over the previous year, several villagers had ventured too close and encountered this ghost. They returned with broken bones and terrifying stories. Fear and superstition kept them from reporting these incidents to authorities. The criminals had created the perfect cover, a supernatural guardian that kept curious eyes away from their illegal activities. The raid that followed Linda's discovery led to multiple arrests and the seizure of a massive drug shipment. Linda's scientific curiosity had accidentally exposed not just a criminal operation, but the truth behind a local legend. The mysterious blackbird that had drawn her in was never alive, but it had been watching all along, its carved eyes hiding cameras that monitored the traffickers' territory. What would you have done in Linda's position? Would you have trusted your scientific mind, or would the jungle's supernatural facade have kept you away?